Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drawn to Us, a podcast with a profile picture drawn by us, where we draw ideas from us to draw you in. Joining me today are Heck, who is really bloody annoying, or at least trying to be. It's really adorable how he thinks he's evil. And also Imperfect, who is the pure penultimate evil. Also me. And today we're going to talk about all three of us, but not all three of us, but actually all of us, because we're going to talk about what? Impy, you know.
Impy knows.
Yeah, you don't. I'm sorry, but no.
We're talking about topics about
Yes.
us.
About Drawn to Us? No, we're talking about groups.
So explain. What does that mean?
We are going to be having a conversation where we highlight various aspects and give a showcase on a topic, as we do every week. And this week we have selected our topic to be a larger pool of people who are working together to achieve a common set of goals or goal.
Got it.
Good.
Can you summarize that in a word?
Groups.
We're discussing groups.
Yeah. Okay. And so I would like to start off by saying that we've all been working in groups, and we have permanently been in groups. And I think all of humanity has been in groups so far.
Yeah, that's kind of
throughout history. We had the us and them. And I would like to start with us and them, because we're demonizing, and demonizing the others mostly. Mm-hmm. And so I want to start off with the negative effects of groups and then transition into the positive ones.
Positive effects of groups?
Yes. Because that's a very logical order, since we would usually start off by listing the good things. What's the bad effects of a group? What's the issues with it?
Well, you get ostracized in groups, right? That's the whole...
You get ostracized outside of groups.
But you also get ostracized inside of groups.
Do you?
I mean, yeah, groups are just big collections of douchebags. Right? I just
elaborate. I think groups are awesome.
I guess I don't know. Groups seem, if you have the right group, it's fun to work with people who you share similar mentality in. But then at the same time, if you take it from like you've been forced into this group kind of angle, you're already, predispositioned to think, hey, I don't really want to work with these people specifically, like in school or, I guess anywhere where you're in a work environment, you're assigned to groups, and then you if the people are already bad, you start jabbing at each other. Oh wait,
yeah, that's the number one reason why people leave or fail at their first job, and why people feel really bad about going to college or uni. It's not because they're overwhelmed by the studying. I think it was 85% of people have troubles because they don't get along with the group.
Oh, really? Where was the study? Like which country?
Britain.
Of course. All right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I went to a British
groups
school.
have the problem of if you're an outsider and there's a pre-established group, you have two choices. Either you get to enter the group, which is a great thing, or you don't get to go inside the group, and that's a terrible thing, because that's what gets you ostracized, right? It's the us versus them mentality again.
Yes.
I think that every group has this problem, or kind of this issue it's dealing with, because after a certain point, groups are just full. There's no point in adding more people, or it would be very bad. That's what I'd like to
tell that to the U.S. Army.
Is there an optimal group size, and do groups get better or worse with more and more people being added?
Was that a question?
Yes.
Oh, I thought we were doing a topic involving bad and good things, but I guess we're doing good things after talking about this? Okay.
We're going to switch good and bad around, because they are very interlinked in groups.
There's a thin line, like this group. Sometimes we have fun, and sometimes we hate you, Impy.
Wait, those aren't the same?
Impy, no.
Oh, come on. I was about to say that. Yeah, you don't have fun when you hate me. because it's never fun. But group size, I like up to 5 people. Anything more than that is terrible.
Really? What was the old
Yes.
adage? It was like 2's a pair, 3's a crowd. Ever
Free
heard that one?
company.
Oh, 3's company?
Four.
Where yours is yours and mine is something like that.
See, I like group sizes up to 150 people. Anything
Jesus
above that,
Christ, Summer,
Good.
what the hell?
Good
Anything above
gosh.
that is scientifically proven to be this beneficial. I mean, the thing is, of course, the more people we add, the better our group mind in general gets. But after we add a certain amount of people, we get diminishing returns, where we can add twice as many people as before and still only get a 1%, 0.5% increase in ability.
But you still get an increase,
Most
right?
groups and villages were roughly around of the size of 100 to 200 people. So 150 people is, as far as I'm aware, the optimal size for a group, because that means your group is coherent, because everyone has some level of knowledge of each other. Everyone has their own smaller subgroup where they have spent their daily lives, and they all can bond together very strongly. Which is why I like 150 people, because it gives you a lot of options. There's a very big amount of input and different ideas being played with. So there's no over homogenization, which I like. Individuality is good. And then it's also not so big that nothing ever gets done, which is why I like those smaller group sizes, which are still big enough.
My lad thinks 150 is small.
Yes.
Good gosh. That would be a horrific work environment for me.
150 people in a company. It wouldn't be horrific.
If
It
the
would
company
be to me.
if the company is doing, $1 billion, then 150 is not enough to manage it. But most companies don't do that. Most companies do like under 1 million. And that's easily done with less than 50 people.
Yeah, and now tell me, I might have not gotten this across. I was talking about the entire social circle of someone. That is about 150 people. So
Oh, so you don't mean that we're all hanging around like 150 people in a
for
room?
every single thing, no. You shouldn't have 150 people from work, friends, for each hobby, and also for studying. No, you should have a total of 150 people in total.
In your social circle as a person.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right, I've got 4.
Me, and Summer.
Yep.
And yourself.
More than has had. Don't forget those.
Okay, yeah, because Summer, I thought you were talking about in a specific group, like 100 people, 150 people in a work group, 150 people in a
church.
family, 150 people in a
that
church.
Is the upper limit. If you're above 150 people, you're gonna have to split those into other groups.
That's the upper limit. I thought you can only have like 3 close friends, 40 acquaintances, and then like 100 less
Girlfriends.
acquaintances. That's like the most your brain can handle. So,
are you positive on that? Because I've read about 150. So it's
I did
Numbers
hear
number.
something similar, that you can only have like 50
Numbers
friends.
number. He's a British anthropologist called Robin, and you can maintain 150 stable relationships.
So everything beyond that is unstable?
No, if you have more than 150 people, it's going to be impossible to keep up with all of those. So new additions are going to shoot out or throw out old ones.
So you're saying we can't be friends with anybody famous because they already hit the upper limit?
I'm saying anybody famous, they don't have more than 150 people closely acquainted to them. So if you get acquainted to them, they're gonna have to lose somebody else from their social circle, because they don't have time to spend on more than 150 people, right? And of course, there is some wiggle room. There always is. But more than that is very, very hard to pull off.
So if you become friends with a famous person, you boot out another friend.
Yeah.
You boot out the least important friend.
Not
All
the
right,
least
that sounds fun. Well, I mean, the least important
also,
to you.
I think it's really important to choose whom you're spending time with, because you only have 150 people. And as I said, that's not a lot. That's barely anyone. So that's why you should take great caution, not spend time with people whom you don't enjoy doing this with.
Well, bye.
See ya, Summer.
Okay, bye.
Right. So now that Impy is gone. Oh no, now that Summer's
Empty.
gone. God damn it, I guessed wrong.
Yeah,
Now that
I
Summer's
wasn't.
gone. Oh, goodness sake, Summer, you didn't even let me finish the joke.
No, obviously not. You are the joke.
All right, this is the worst. Goodbye.
Okay. So, 150 people is the best social group. And now, a bad thing about this is obviously if you meet new people, you're gonna have to lose some connection with old people. Or not old, but with old friends. And the problem is people really like new stuff. They enjoy that a lot. And they do not enjoy old stuff. Old friends. It is much harder to keep a relationship going than it is to start a new one. Can you agree with that so far?
Yeah.
No.
Don't you think so, Impy? I mean, that's why.
Meeting people is difficult.
What?
Because you have to like say hi to them.
Yeah, but I mean, if you
And
jump from relationship to relationship, it's easier than finding one and then committing to it, right? That's why people always say relationships are work. It's because they are.
I mean, their work, I find the work easier than meeting new people. And meeting them as in actually forming a friend or significant other relationship.
Huh. Remember when we first met and you called me a gooch? I don't know. A shebuffle. And I was so offended. I came to your house that very night and beat you to a pulp with a lead rod.
With LeBron James.
See, so it wasn't that difficult to form that relationship.
And
You know, by
now
the
we're
time we
best
got you to the
friends.
hospital, we were friends.
Yeah, totally. See, but not many people are willing to beat me with a lead rock.
Lead pipe. A lead
Lead
rock.
pipe.
It's fine.
So,
I don't blame
yeah.
you. You were pretty concussed. All right.
I would
Well, I mean, you
I would-
heard it here first, guys. If you want Impy to be your friend, you beat them soundly.
Well, yeah, the point is I would much rather invest in the friends I have than go
Get
find
beaten.
new friends. Yeah, usually.
That's really
And
nice. And it is, though, it is still harder, I'm gonna have to say, though.
I guess that
you can enjoy it
deals
more.
with you.
Perfectly right. I'm just asking whether it's easier, really.
And for me, I have no idea how to talk to people, so man.
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
That's why the beating started in the first place.
stop being so violent for
No.
5 seconds.
All right. Well, I mean, I know people, you know, enough. So I guess forming new relationships isn't really about knowing what to say for me. It's just about if the person is charmed by my humor or if they find it off-putting. If they find it off-putting, they're usually not very intelligent, so I don't need to bother with them anyways. And if they find it charming, they're probably not that intelligent either, but let's see what we can work with, you know?
Yeah, that's also interesting. People are stupid, large groups of people, and individuals are smart.
Are you sure?
It would be a great transition if we had something to talk about involving groups. What do you think about people thinking or acting as a group, as a group mentality, as opposed to individualism?
Go MP.
And it sucks to no end. Like groupthink has been responsible for the worst atrocities humanity has ever committed.
And also some of the greatest things, especially according to you.
All right,
It's
both of you name an example.
super questionable.
Well, here's the thing. Religion is, in its most basic form, just as well group thinking. And you are obviously not an opponent of religion.
No,
I
I
am.
don't know because
Destroy all religion.
no, see, organized religion is responsible for terrible things like the Crusades. Like no one thinks those were a good idea.
But we got
Someone-
some pretty good memes out of them, so all's well that ends well.
Oh yeah, totally. And then see, I'm trying to rethink. No, not rethink, because specifically Pentecostalism, it
Pardon me?
is.
Pentecostalism?
I can't say Christianity because that includes Catholicism. The branch of Christianity that I'm
Mhm.
part of, that a large part of North America and I think South America, I'm not sure, is a part of, it's very individualistic in how it's supposed to be played out.
As in,
I
you
mean,
have one pastor who's stronger than all the other pastors. And that's
Pastor
the path
Showdown.
that's the one you listen to because he's the strongest one. And that's how individualism works.
Close, but no, the way you're supposed to interact with God is highly personal in many cases, and groups are there as more like a, not to be crass and misstate it, but like more like a confirmation bias than anything else.
Mm.
The confirmation bias is a really nice thing we're going to talk about in a minute. I
I
would like
mean,
to
confirmation bias
delve
is
deeper
also
on those.
terrible.
So you're saying groups are responsible for some of the worst things.
Have you ever been to a public school?
Yes.
Groups?
We have a social system that has public schools here, yes?
That sounds
Yes.
terrible, Summer.
Heck, you have the
Groups.
same stuff.
Yeah, but I went to a private school, which was
And
equally
see where it got
scarring.
you.
It was the same, but with more drugs because we had money.
No.
Yeah, pretty much. So I just can't think of any instance in which a group is good. And we're
What?
talking about a large group.
What
Like,
about all the people that came together to get massacred on
What about
Tiananmen
healthcare?
Square?
What about government? What about organized help?
Well, I mean, let's not talk about government. That's just gonna make me mad. I'm like that old guy in the shed with a shotgun pointed at the door.
Having a government is most of the time better than having anarchy.
Well, I mean, a king would be nice.
yeah, but in most cases, government isn't a group. It's
Yes, it is.
a system of individuals acting on legality, on
With their own-
following.
It is a group of people acting on legality. It is a group.
Wouldn't you say it's just one charming individual manipulating a bunch of others to get stuff?
No, that's not. No, goodness, there's a word for it.
That's
tyranny.
drawn to us.
That is tyranny.
Well, I mean, yeah,
That's
but I
drawn
mean,
to-
it's pretty hidden. It can be hidden, you know. I mean, if you go around being like, "Oh my God, you're gonna do as I say now," then obviously people are gonna wise up and be like, "Hold on a minute, that's not right," you know. But if you're sneaky about it and then you make them think it's their own idea, they're like, "Oh yeah, let's go declare war on China," you know. I came up with that. I'm so smart, and it's just your big plan. You know, isn't that also individualism in the government and not really group thing? So everyone's too stupid. It's just an individual manipulating a group of idiots.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the big problems with groups. They are, if you
Stupid.
manage to get to the leader position, people are inclined to follow you. And on one hand, that has a great potential to be good because you can set an example, you can be a role model.
Mhm.
On the other hand, it is very easy to bring your own bias into it and to abuse the group.
Mhm.
And that is a problem of individuals, I would say, though. So I'm going to say this. As an individual leading in a group, I have potential for very great things, both in the positive and negative sides. As a group, you have very little mobility towards greatness in either good or bad things.
Yeah, but then what's the
Mostly gonna
point?
be the middle way.
What's the benefit of a group if the group can just be taken over by an individual anyways?
No. The benefit
Okay.
of a group is okay.
Well, there we go.
Start talking about the benefits of groups.
Huh?
Let's start talking about the benefits of groups, because we've been forming groups as a species forever. Ever since we started existing, thinking on this world, we've been living together in groups of people. Because groups can do some very great things, and I suppose today I'm going to be arguing for groups because I'm a very big fan of those.
Really? Are you normally against groups?
No.
Oh.
But you are, apparently.
Well, I mean, I just had my own experience with groups, so
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
And
So-
I'm gonna see whether which of us guys is gonna end up changing their mind by the end of this. All I'm asking you is something I'm gonna try to do, and that's of course to keep an open mind and to be okay with changing our points of view.
Groups are Nazis. I'll never change my mind.
Okay, then I'm not gonna argue with you.
No, Summer. No, I'll totally change. I'll
No.
totally keep an open mind.
No, you don't need to change your mind, but just don't deny the option to.
Fine. Impy, what do you think? Are groups Nazis?
Well, groups made Nazis, so
Well,
No. Not necessarily. I mean, yes, group fiction, and the ostracization of diverse groups led to Nazism.
diverse.
It's also individuals, though.
My stance on groups is that they are my least favorite necessity of human life.
Okay. And
well,
are you open to trying to get some of my points? Because I obviously do see some of your points, and I'd love to hear more.
I think that if I could be shown that over half of groups produce more good than they do bad, then maybe they would be a bit better. But I don't know. What are your points? Go ahead. Show me.
I'm gonna drink a sip of water first.
Ah! How rude.
I'm thirsty, alright? Okay. So we have been using groups, and I'm gonna say groups are a very efficient tool the instant that you have to organize over large amounts of people, large amounts of creatures, actually, or large amounts of time. Because initially, when you set up a group, you're gonna have to put in some effort, some work. If you're just setting up a group and doing a task once, it might be easier to let everyone go by their own things and see what comes out of it, changing as we go. That is a valid option, a very valid thing to do for one-time tasks. And I'm saying as soon as you're got to do it repeatedly, a group is just going to be more efficient. Can we agree that groups are very efficient at getting things done, at getting large things done?
A well-run group.
I mean, you have the old adage, right? That too many cooks spoil the meal.
Yeah, and that is, I'm saying that is not the problem with groups. I'm saying this saying. I'm saying this saying. Ooh, look at me! I'm being fancy. It refers to too many people trying to lead the group. Obviously, if we all disagree, and we all want to go in different directions, we're not in a group. We're in an argument, and an argument gets nothing done.
The way I always interpreted that adage is that everybody tries to add salt to the thing, because every cook is like, "Oh, right, I got to add salt," So they go and they don't even mention it as add salt, and because you have so many cooks and they all think that needs to have salt.
Groups are very. Oh yeah. Well, let's transition into that for now, into group forming, because there's 4 stages into any group being formed, and the too many cooks issue is one of the second order of group forming. So these 4 stages, and we're going to discuss each one briefly, is forming, storming, norming, and performing. So forming a group is the shortest amount of time, the easiest thing to do, and the most commonplace one. Because it's just a bunch of people getting together and having to work or getting the opportunity to work on something together. So if you In its most basic level, this is already a group, and it's a group where you assign this group a task. Group is formed. Okay. Because as we mentioned, I'm still gonna say that groups are very efficient. So we're on to the second stage, and that's the storming one. And initially, in the formation stage, people are just getting to know each other. That's when you meet people. Everyone introduces themselves to each other. Everyone is on their best behavior, because when you start meeting new people, you don't usually want to come off as someone who is trashy. You don't want to come off as someone having a bad attitude.
Well, you can speak for yourself, Summer.
Yeah, look at Heck.
That's why I said usually.
I don't pull my punches. I meet somebody, and if they don't like me, I don't care much for them either, and then I leave, and then I find other people.
Yeah. And how's that been working out for you in group projects?
I have not been part of groups. Suck. People are dumb. You go in and they're all like, "Oh, why are you acting so weird?" And it's like, "Screw you, man. You're stupid and pathetic, and I'm gonna go kill someone you love."
So how have talking about murder? You have been working on a game, right?
Yeah,
how has that been working out for you so far?
it's been great because I chose my group partners.
Wait, you're in a group?
Well, I mean, I guess if you want to call me forcing my fellow friends to do this thing with me, a group, then yeah.
Are you? So
I
you're
mean-
still in a group, but why are you in a group? Isn't it easier to get things done on your own? Do you not disagree with those people ever?
Are two people a group?
Pardon me?
Are two people a group?
We're a very small group. Is
Is
there
not a
only
pair?
two people working on your game?
I mean, our programmer is not gonna be available until next month.
Is he gonna be working with you guys though? Is he part of your group?
The Summer. I see where you're trying to lead me. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
disagree with it. Is there anything untrue we've talked about? You are working, and of course, as you mentioned, you've had terrible experiences with groups. I think it started at your school. We've heard that already. Do you agree so far?
Yes.
Very good. So you're saying groups can lead to great turmoil. And now you're still using those, even though they have those dangers. You do still participate in some groups. For example, this group of 3 people. And do you mind being in those groups? Do you actively try to leave them?
No.
Okay. My next question would be, do you always agree with what's said in those groups? Do you think it's perfectly harmonical and all of our ideas and points are valid things which you really want to agree with? Is everything that happens always up to your liking?
No.
So you're saying there is turmoil in our groups?
Yes.
Oh, you sound really bored right now. Okay. And then obviously there's also disagreements. No, could you stop agreeing with me on disagreements? Okay. So even though we have disagreements, we still get a lot of things done. And we are still very efficient at doing what we do. It is very enjoyable, at least in my experience.
Okay. What's the point, Summer?
You tell me.
Well, I think groups can work in very specific situations with very specific people.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd almost say that groups are more of a privilege than they are a given. And I don't think everybody should go around forming groups. I think it's something you do when you're ready and you found the right person. And by forcing kids to get into groups and by promoting it on such large scales with businesses and et cetera, you actually get a bunch of douchebags. Like, sure, it's necessary sometimes because, you need a group.
Sometimes, because here's a question for you. How do you get good at drawing?
I draw and then I fail and then I keep drawing.
So how do you get good at, what else do you do? You play piano. How did you get good at playing piano?
I didn't. I stopped.
Okay. How would you have gotten good at piano if you hadn't stopped?
Finding a better teacher.
And then?
Then I'm playing the piano.
And failing. obviously. At the beginning, you wouldn't be perfect, presumably.
Well, I mean, pretty good.
Are you? Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
We need to hear that.
Well, I mean, I used to be. I used to be one of those annoying kids who didn't really need to read notes.
Very good.
And then I stopped because I got too bored. And also, I wasn't into classical music at all, and they kept forcing it on me.
Oh,
And I was like, no, I'm not really interested.
Okay.
Let me play the soundtrack from Legend of Zelda.
So the way you got better, and the way I believe most people get better at any skill, be it sports, exercise, or more intellectual ones, is by trying those things out and then failing and trying it again, learning from your failures. And it's the very same thing for building groups, for any social skill, for getting to know people, for example, in NP. It's just you try it, then you will fail at the beginning. You will always have some failures, and that's perfectly all right. Failures set you up for success in the future, as long as you learn from them. So that's why I think building a lot of groups at a young age is great, because it teaches people how to act in those groups, and they find their own spots and how to behave.
You think so? But doesn't forming groups have more to do with the individual and not the group itself? Like, can't you you can practice making a group every week and have it fail every week, but you might still not get better at making groups, right? If you have some personal thing you have to solve first.
Just choose, or could always not learn from your experiences.
Huh?
You could always not learn from things that are going on. You can also always learn from them. So that's up to individuals, how much they learn from each of their experiences.
All right.
The way to learn is to try, fail, and try again. Also, I don't think groups are privileged per se, because the very first thing humans did was build groups.
And look where we are now.
Where we are now, we're the dominant species on our planet.
We are probably gonna nuke each other into the ground within the next 10 years.
If we don't... No, we're not.
You just don't think that's gonna happen?
I don't think we're gonna nuke each other to the ground.
Well, I mean, if I win and we see each other in the spiritual afterworld, I get 5 spiritual bucks from you.
No, heck, I think you're missing the point.
What?
Nukes blow us up into the sky, not the ground. Duh.
Well, I still want my soul bucks.
Is it your sole purpose?
Oh my god.
Okay, you do get my point though, right? Groups at a young age are oftentimes failing. I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, have you seen group projects in school? Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but don't they fail because you aren't with your friends? You're just with a bunch of douchebags? You know, like
you're always with people who aren't necessarily your closest circle of friends, and that's good. Because you always have to work with the people which share the common goal, not with the people you like the best.
Yeah, but in a classroom, you all share the same common goal of let's do the stupid thing the teacher asked us to do.
Yeah,
and you could
in work, in life, you all have a common goal of at work, it's mostly let's do this thing our boss asked us to do. Or if you're an entrepreneur, let's do this thing we want to do.
But I mean, even if you're at work, you could be like, hey, I really want to work with Jeff. And then your boss is like, all right, we're all doing the same thing, but you and Frank are sitting together, so I'm just going to partner you with Frank.
Yeah, and
Frank's a
project will prepare you for that. Even if you're not in the setup you personally like the best, you're still in a setup.
Everybody could stop being such a douchebag and pairing you up with, like, what is the teacher thinking? Like, let's say, you see little Bobby playing with Chris every day. You're like a homeroom teacher. They're clearly talking, in breaks when you're out there supervising the kids. And then class comes around, and then you see the big douche nozzle Jeffrey,
I don't think teachers really see, oh wow, that child is a douchebag, I don't like him.
Well, I mean, they can tell who you're compatible with, right? And then they clearly choose.
You can tell who people like the most, yes. Not who they're compatible with.
So
only who they like the most.
Why does everybody have to learn to get along with people they don't like getting along with in a work and group environment? When
would you rather only spend time with those whom they personally really like and agree with, ignore our other options, shun them, and kind of ostracize everyone outside their particular randomly chosen group? Or would you rather people get along in general?
What? That's a loaded question, Summer. I'm just saying I'd
Would
rather
you
hang out.
rather have people get along even with those that they disagree with? Or would you rather have people hate them and spend as little time with them as possible?
Well, just because I don't work in a group with somebody doesn't mean I hate them automatically, right?
No.
Yeah,
you can learn to work with people even if you hate them or if they hate you. And that's a very valuable thing, because
But
people
in
are...
this context, we can choose to work with somebody more compatible for zero repercussions. It's all the same goal. And the only reason we aren't is because of some douchebag deciding, hey, let's not do that. So what's the draw there?
I think the problem here is that, heck, you chose an indefensible position for your argument.
Which one did I pick? Help me, MP.
Why should I be in a group with anybody I don't like?
Oh, did I say that?
That's essentially the soul of your argument.
Well, the soul of my argument...
I could be working with people I like, but somebody put me with somebody I don't like, so why do I have to do that? Well, Summer's argument is that, well, it teaches you how to get along with them.
Yeah. It is. Yes. In the end of the day, the point of a group project in school isn't just to do the job you're supposed to do. I'd even argue the much bigger point of school in general is that you learn to get along with people, the social things. I think that's one of the most valuable things you can get out of kindergarten and school.
In other words,
the info you learn is forgettable. You're not going to use 80-90% of what you learn in school. The social skills you pick up, those are what's going to bring you through life. Pardon me for the interruption, Tal. Please go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you're a kid listening to this and you have a teacher named Summer, then get out quick, because he's just gonna put you in groups with everybody that you hate, and he's gonna sit there laughing, saying, "Get along, my children!" Oh, and you're not gonna have any fun.
It just seems inconvenient to me, you know? It's like, why? You know, I didn't learn how to get along with people from school or from being put into groups with people I didn't like. I never learned to get along with them. All I learned was that the person in charge is kind of a douche, you know? That's all I learned.
Here's a question. Do you remember what we started when we started talking about this?
No.
We've had a bunch of different points of view. One of those was that even if you're in a group every week, you can't... What did you say? You can make a group every other week and still end up failing all the time? Was it something like that?
And not learning from it, yeah.
Exactly. And so that's essentially what you've been doing, haven't you? You've been put in new groups with people you didn't like, and you've not... apparently you have chosen not to learn how to get along with those people, but instead to blame the person in power.
Summer, don't try and make me seem like I didn't try to get along with these people. I tried my best, all right? But it clearly wasn't working.
So did you learn? Have you picked up skills or some tolerance towards people like that? So if
I picked up like an unchannelable like freaking rage, which is gonna manifest itself in like 15 years, victim by victim.
And do you think that's a good thing?
No, it's not. I'm saying that I'm screwed. It's a subconscious way, you know. I picked it up subconsciously. It's not like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have this rage about this now. No, you know.
And here's the great thing: you don't want to have this rage, right? Do you?
No.
I'm very glad to hear that. I am very relieved you don't want to be a rage monster 15 years down the road. And so the beauty of it is that now you get the option to work against that. You get the option to get rid of all of that. And obviously, you're working towards it, right? You're doing therapy, you're talking with people, you're being social, improving yourself every single day. Out of that is going to be in groups with people whom you don't like. Because guess what? Throughout your entire life, there's going to be a lot of people whom you don't like, you don't agree with, and whom you don't really want to spend time with, but you still have to for the sake of something or else. And do you want the skills to get along with them and to get your goals anyway? to maybe work with them and at the end of the day gain a mutual respect, which doesn't mean that only you respect them, but they also respect you.
Well, I mean that's under the broad assumption that the people I'm working with are competent, right? If they're competent, I don't really mind working with them.
Everyone is competent on their own stuff.
Huh?
Everyone is competent at their own stuff.
Well, sorry, that's a bold thing to say.
No, I think every human has a vast amount of potential in incredibly diverse ways. Everyone can do certain things very good. I don't think there's any human alive or has ever been a human or will ever be a human who's just incompetent at everything.
You sure about that?
Yes.
All right, maybe.
Yeah, and so the question is, of course, if you're stuck in this position, if you're spending time with people, and you personally your goals, your thoughts don't align with them, what do you want to get out of that situation? How do you want it to work? And keep in mind, we want to be realistic here, right? You're not going to get to magically change people. People don't really like changing.
How do I make a situation like that work where I'm stuck with people I don't like?
Do you want to make it work or do you want to leave it?
Well, I mean, in the context
of our parents, Impy, you take it from here because you have. I hope you've got. You're agreeing with what I'm saying so far because Heck is obviously disagreeing, or actually he thinks he's disagreeing. He just doesn't realize he is agreeing.
For goodness sake, every time it always ends like this. Impy, do it. Do the thing.
I don't do the thing.
Do the thing.
You are actually agreeing with him because
Ow.
you agree. Duh.
You've solved it. You've done it.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned. Wait, no, I think you're past that now. Yeah, I think you're improving yourself, and you'll eventually learn to be nice. But I agree, groups are
I am
bad.
nice. How dare you? Do you need me to teach you a lesson?
Groups are bad. See, everything some are saying, groups are more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. Groups teach you things. Sometimes.
What did I miss?
Impy is crying.
Oh, not again, Impy. We've talked about this. Stop wasting water.
No, Impy was trying to make a point.
Oh.
I was just like, everything you've said about groups is true, but more often than not, it's not true. More often than not, in my experience and everything that I've seen, groups do not run smoothly, are not efficient. See, when you say efficient, it's kind of like a sum, like 1 equals 1, but then 2 people does not equal 2 times the work. Usually it equals like 1.7 times the work. So, I mean, by that, no, it's not efficient. It's just more efficient at getting the same task done in a lesser amount of time. That's my rebuttal to that one. More people you add,
I've gotten Impy on my side now.
I still think.
Yeah.
I still think no, groups are good because in the end,
No,
it
Impy,
is done quicker, but at the same time, it's not done as quick as it could be in a situation.
There is obviously room for improvement. I'm never gonna say a group is the most efficient it could ever be, because perfection is unattainable, right? And that is kind of the angle you're getting from. You've had those experiences with your work colleagues where they could have been working better, they could have been more efficient, and you could have, or you wanted to tell them how to, but they just didn't want to change.
Essentially.
Yeah, you've been in that position. So I absolutely get where you're coming from, and I do agree. What I'm saying is groups are still very efficient, and they also give us the option to do things which we couldn't ever be doing without a group. I mean, have you seen ships, giant ships being built? You couldn't do that as an individual, ever. You couldn't pick up the expertise.
Hey, wait.
Ever
have
heard
you-
about a little person called Noah?
Oh, he actually
Well-
had his family helping him. So
Yeah, well, it's like 4 people, right? It's not
Sorry.
many.
I think it's more like 8. But have you ever heard of that guy who just died recently who built a cathedral on his own
No?
over his whole lifetime? Actually, no, he didn't. He didn't finish. So I guess that's not a good point. But he was like 75% done with his huge cathedral somewhere in the world. I forget.
Okay, so
But
did,
How
did
old
he,
was he?
did he learn
He was old.
from ground, from zero input without other people? Did he learn the statistics, the mathematics, and the equations behind building it, the materials, how to cut them, how to get them there, how to ship them, how to set up the cathedral? Did he also learn what a cathedral even is, how to build things that are taller than one story? Did he do all of those things by himself? Like, he was born into this world, and from that point onwards, he was teaching all of those things to himself without any
Well, I
outside.
mean, even
I
if he,
guess so.
well, I mean,
I don't
even if
think
he-
so.
Even if he didn't learn it all by himself, doesn't mean that he relied on a group to do the work, right?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, you can have a group that teaches you something or an individual that teaches you something, but then if you take the knowledge and make something of it, with your own, that doesn't mean that they had any grander impact on it, right? Beyond just giving you the tools
Provide the
necessary.
option to do this thing.
Well,
Without
yeah,
the group, you wouldn't have ever been able to come up with those things.
but it's just the tools, right? Without you wouldn't have ever been able to come up with those things either.
Absolutely. I'm just saying you can't isolate yourself from groups.
But
You
can
are
be run
always
by-
not the cherry on top. You're always the individual putting those things together. You're
Uh-huh.
always the person putting in the work. And the group is just providing you all of those tools and options to put in the work. The group is also putting in its work. It's just not doing it in the same way you are.
But
And
if you get taught by an individual, where's the group in that? Is 2 still a group?
Technically, also I don't
choose
think anyone has ever been taught life by an individual. There's always your parents, there's your peer group, your social stuff, your circle.
But
Yeah.
theoretically, if you had a collection of books
Yes.
written by somebody,
Who
and
came
then-
up with the idea of writing? Who taught you how to read?
well, I mean, maybe you learned it by yourself, I'm sure you can learn that by yourself.
No, you can't.
Don't you think you can learn
So-
reading by yourself?
You can't learn reading.
So right now we're approaching the level of diminishing returns because your arguments on either side are getting more esoteric. Like, well, let's focus on this one scenario in which I was born and my mother left me and I only had books and I somehow learned to read. Well, I could have done it then. And Summer's like, well, who came up with reading in the first place? Oh, either of those arguments are just nonsense, and you can stop now because obviously none of you are getting anywhere.
I'm
'cause you're
still
just
getting back
focusing-
on my
blah,
main track.
blah.
That is, the groups are a great thing because in my studies, physics, I am also in a study group, and they're awesome because they've been not only motivating me, but they've also been helping me with those things I couldn't do on my own. Because as an individual, I have my own flaws and my own ways of understanding things, which sometimes don't work.
Yeah.
And so
Okay. I
in a
have.
group, you have other people to rely on to help you.
Yeah. I have two questions. What's the size of that group?
I mean, there is the big group, the general study group, which is 220 people, so it's a bit too big. Then there is my specific study group, which is just 8 people.
8 people. See, that's a nice
Nerds.
size.
It's
Hey,
a nice
nerd.
size for a study subgroup, yeah?
Yes.
I'm saying
that's a good
150 people is also nice. Obviously, I do agree, and I apologize for making this point. I'm not saying we should do everything as a giant group of 150 people. We are always going to
That'd be
split
funny.
this into smaller groups.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the difference here. I'm just arguing based on my personal experiences, and so are you.
No,
Oh, I mean, if you had only negative experiences of groups, I don't think you'd advocate groups as much as you are now.
not as much, no.
See?
And so I'm
Okay.
not arguing based on this hypothetical scenario. Cool. I'm arguing based
So-
on science, and science history tells us that groups are the reason why we've been progressing so far.
I have the science and it backs up with me. Okay, wait.
But
So my
hold
second.
on.
Oh, hold on. Okay, I still
You
have a
hold on.
question, but go on. What? Are you gonna say something important?
Yeah, because we invented the steam engine back in ancient Greek times. They had the whole concept and a working little thingy, but then along came other groups who were like, "Boo, knowledge," and cut to now, thousands and thousands of years later, we finally managed to catch up. And since we invented the steam engine, we've made progress to like stuff like touchscreens and iPhones and all that. So what if we didn't have those destructive knowledge-hating groups back in the day?
Then we would have been in a different society now.
Yeah, see, so groups not always good. We could have ruined everything.
Maybe these knowledge-hating groups were a good thing. You can't just say a group is bad because they do things I don't like.
But then, how can you say they aren't a bad thing if they actively halted the process of knowledge, progress of knowledge?
There might be the point of very naturalist people who are saying, yeah, we shouldn't have invented the steam engine because we're damaging our planet. So for those people, it's good.
But then we're only damaging our planet as a group,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's another point that groups are bad, right?
They, as a group, want to prevent that, and that's very good. Impy, please go ahead, because Heg is just arguing semantics now. He's gotten the point. He doesn't want to accept it.
I think you. Oh, whatever. So my question is: you're saying groups are good?
Yeah.
Is the fact that it's necessary make it good? Because I agree with you. Groups are a necessity for most of the things that humanity has accomplished. Like, we cannot have happened by itself. Society is a society.
We live in a
society.
But that in and of itself doesn't make it good in my eyes, because, like I mentioned, there's still many things wrong with it. So what makes a society, what makes it good? What makes a group good?
I would like to say that I'd want to take some time to think and discuss what good is. We're going to do that in our philosophy season.
Oh, we're going to have a
No, I'm going to say you're absolutely correct. And I just can't say they're good. The thing is, what are they good at? So what are groups good at, and what are they bad at? And I think groups are very good at getting and motivating large amounts of people to do something. They're very good at progress, and they are very good at efficiently binding people together. Furthermore, let's take a small portion here. Do you guys agree so far? Groups are good at those things.
I guess.
Yes. Well, the first one is that groups are good at getting you to do stuff well, because if you don't follow the group, you get ostracized, and then you have no food, and then you die. So they're good at doing that on threat of death. So
it doesn't need to be on threat of death. Groups have various ways of motivating you.
I mean, from a biological standpoint, it's a threat of death, right?
And yeah, there are lots of
needs. This is the hierarchy of needs, and they can use each tool in it.
There are lots of examples of groups, and if you agree with the group, and generally
if you agree, the group is nice to you.
The aura in the group is, we agree with this thing, so let's do our best. Then yes, it can be great. The second point was groups are efficient.
Yeah, groups not only motivate you to do things, groups also get a large amount of progress done, right? They're very good at inventing new things, at exploring ideas.
Wait, groups are not good at inventing new things. That's just patently false. Groups are good at continuing on with things that are already there.
Yeah, good point.
They
are good at trying out inventions.
Yeah, they're good at trying out inventions. Refining things. Yeah, we'll say that. But like we mentioned before, groups are not as efficient as they could be. So
nothing is as efficient as it could be.
Well, that's a broad argument. You can't just say that. That covers everything, right?
There's one thing which is potentially as efficient as it could be, and that's entropy. Everything else is on some level inefficient.
Exactly.
So it's your point is, I mean, I would presume your point is we should try to be as efficient as possible. I agree with that. We'll get into how to get it later on.
Was that the second point? Well, because I was just
Groups
thinking
are good at getting stuff done. They're, as you mentioned, good at refining. Okay,
groups
are also good at providing you a sense of belonging and making you feel nice. Groups can care for their members very good.
Man, see, but that's all biology, right? And what if humans weren't predispositioned to have that need? I wonder what the world would look like,
This is not getting into groups.
What? Yeah, like a world where you don't need to get into groups, right?
That's not what we're discussing tonight. I'm really sorry.
Curious.
It's a very fascinating concept. I recommend you write a book about it, or you bring it up eventually for personal discussion, because I am interested.
Summer, invent a time machine and make sure.
No, not tonight. We're not talking about this tonight. We're talking about groups.
Fine. I'll save it for philosophy town.
Okay, moving on. What was your next topic, Summer?
Groups are good at providing for people. And that's mostly what I'm saying. Groups are good at getting people to do stuff, providing for them, and giving them some sense of belonging. I also agree that they're necessary. And so I think we should try to get groups to be as good as we can for whatever we personally perceive to be good. Groups are a very efficient way of getting there if we think about group dynamics correctly.
Like, what do you mean group dynamics?
Group dynamics is that's what I'd like to end with. So first of all, I would love for you to make any points which you think have been left open, which you would still like to discuss. Otherwise, I'd like to get back to the 4 stages of forming a group, discuss those for a bit, and then ask your questions, because we're roughly an hour in.
Yes, Summer, are you just sitting there like rubbing your mic as you're talking? Just like, what a nice feeling mic.
What the
hell? Why?
Because
no,
that's what
I'm not.
I do hear a little bit of shuffling sometimes.
Yeah, there was shuffling. Who took their headphones out?
Summer?
I could hear him. Did he disappear?
He's ashamed.
No, I didn't wear headphones the entire episode.
Oh, that would explain all the shuffling, probably.
Would it?
Maybe.
That's you shuffling and you hear it?
Nah. It's been working out pretty good so far, though, because I've also not been wearing my headphones for the last 2 episodes.
Wow, no wonder the quality dropped by like 50%.
Okay.
I didn't want to bring it up because
points you guys want to make about groups which you feel we need to discuss before we get to our last segment?
Some groups suck.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point is we can make groups suck less.
Well, what do you do against a big group? When
why against?
With a
why do you want to fight against groups, Heck? Stop it.
I mean, look at the situation, right? We've got like the school system, which is outdated and wrong, and the only way to fight that is to go against a group of oldies.
No, it isn't. The best way to change it is to become a politician, work within the group of the government, change the school system. It's way easier than fighting and smart
against the group, right? Especially as a politician, you're against other groups. And even if you came out and you had the perfect plan and you're like, all right, this is how we can change the school system, this is what we can do, you'd still have people and groups against you who are like, oh, it just costs too much money. Oh, it's just so much effort. I don't want to do it. That's still groups of people who are against you, right? So what do you do when you have to be against the group?
You focus on working within your group and getting it to be the best you can. You also usually make compromises.
So it's like if you had like a mech suit, and then you're fighting like a group is a mech suit. You gotta fight a mech suit. You have to make your own.
What? No.
But I think
find a compromise.
Hey, Heck, I think the point Summer is trying to make is we have private schools for a reason. So if your idea is truly better, then you start a private school, and natural selection, survival of the best idea.
But
if
then
it is
again,
better and works better, then it will eventually take over.
I don't know if we have enough.
That wasn't my point at all, but I agree with it. I'll take it from here.
Oh,
Work on your own group and make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good thing. I didn't think of this.
Huh. So I don't necessarily have to punch another group in the face.
No.
Wow. Good job.
No, that's very good. Now he has thought about his core beliefs and changed them. It's great. Stop being sarcastic, you.
But
Here,
then again, wouldn't it be easier
No.
to make my point?
No. How about no?
That's why we're going to nuke each other in the next 10
Just
years.
saying, if
No.
the other group didn't
Stop
exist,
it.
I could make my point a lot easier.
No.
I don't know how easy it is to make an argument from prison.
Did you know that Stalin didn't have any opponents? Like opposing groups?
Do you know that Stalin historically is viewed as one of the worst people?
But he got rid of them and he was able to do what he wanted. See?
While
And
he was alive, how many of his ideas survived him?
Well, the thing is, his ideas were mean and evil, right? He's
Yeah,
like, hey,
that way.
let's starve everybody,
It's murdering people. So yeah.
Yeah, see, mine is to make a better school system.
So why would you choose the way of Stalin, whereas at the point where you die, your ideas die with you?
Well, it won't necessarily die with me if the ideas are good enough. There's still plenty of people in places like Russia who think that Stalin was a great guy
I don't
and
think
still
so.
follow his belief. Oh yeah, did you not read that?
No. And
yeah, there's still like plenty of people who are like, hey, yeah, communism.
yeah, communism is still a good idea. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, but they still like his ideas and what he did, right?
I don't think anyone really likes what he did.
I can guarantee that there are people like that.
Okay. Group forming. Group forming is when people get together. Next process is storming, which is where people start being themselves, being as you say, too many cooks, because everyone wants to put their input in. Everyone wants to be themselves and be viewed as a great, grandiose person by the group. So that's when you get a lot of clashes, especially because people have different ideologies, different belief systems. So they start arguing and fighting, and it might devolve. And at that point, the group kind of really needs a strong leader or sense of purpose. And someone who takes care, or a bunch of people who take care of these various clashes, tries to resolve the conflict and get people to agree with each other, or to come to a compromise. And if they can do it by themselves, that's great. It's just very unlikely. Storming. Storming is also very interesting because it can last for the entire duration of the group. If people, or if there is nobody who is able to take care of all of those things, organize them, and it becomes highly inefficient because everyone just is doing their own thing, so it's barely coherent as a group. And then storming. Norming is when you actually do what you mentioned before, when you see other groups, and you kind of get into that competitive thought pattern where you think, oh, we want to do better than that group. And it doesn't need to be negative as in you want to tear them down. Maybe you just want to work so hard, be so good at your job that you're surpassing them. So that is the third one, norming, where everyone people have found their compromises. They're not fighting against each other anymore. They do still have disagreements, small arguments. No more, they always will. And that's fine. They don't have strong disparities. And so they all have their role. They all feel comfortable working what they do. And then we finally lead into the largest, most important stage, which is performing, when the group does what it's supposed to do. And if new people enter this group, it can devolve back into the storming phase, or if people leave the group, that can also happen because the balance is offset. So you're always going to have to work within your group, and you're always going to have to adapt to new situations. And it will not always be your ideal outcome, and that's all right, because everyone has to make a compromise in the group. That also leans into your point, MP. It's never as efficient as you want it to be, because we all have to make compromises. And I still think that's perfectly all right, because it teaches you to be kind of more open, more empathetic towards other people, ideally. And that's really where I would like to leave this off. Try to be accepting of other people's views, and don't try to fight them, maybe find common ground. and then build a good group. Okay. With all that said, I hope you've had a lot of fun listening to us today, hearing this kind of more argumentative basis, which we haven't had in a long time. I hope you've had a ton of fun enjoying Heck's points get torn down and him just getting schooled in every single aspect because his points are red and nobody likes them.
I'm bludgeoning
and
someone.
I also hope you've learned something new. In the manner of that, there's one last thing we're missing, that is a question. And I can't, for the life of me, let anyone but Imperfect ask tonight's question.
Cool.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite group that you've been in so far?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a normal one.
Yeah, I'd review my point. It's okay. I've had betters. We've had betters. You've had. Even Hex had betters.
Huh?
Yeah, I know. Surprising. Okay. What is your favorite group? Tell us in the comments. And also tell us anything we might have scuffled over or anything you disagree about. In the manner of that, this is tonight's episode. This was drawn to us, and have a lovely evening.